Hi there, traders. This is Brad Gilbert with the FX Market Insight for Wednesday, the 2nd of June. All right, let's have a look at what's going down and not much activity, right? So, and this is quite prevalent, especially with a bit of mixed data out of the US, non-farm payrolls. We just had the long weekend. You know, the markets are just really connecting. So today is like a Monday where the market sort of feels itself out over the weekend, see what news is filtered through and all this sort of stuff. The US Treasury is a bit mixed. Okay, no clear direction here from equity markets or the treasuries at this point. Treasuries were a little bit higher in the North American session, but I'll show you what's going on. And there's a couple of good things, right? You look at the dollar index here, right? It's just drifted down through that short-term support line, just drifting sideways. So not a lot going on at this point. If anything, the dollar's recharging itself. But what we are seeing is the data impacting. Like you look at the GDP annualized numbers, slightly weaker there. In Canada, you got some of the manufacturing numbers here out of the US, a little bit stronger. If I just go down a touch, you'll see the ISM numbers. Okay, these numbers here a little bit better as well. So dollar strength, Canadian weakness. Does that work for us? And you come over and check the charts. Well, I tell you what, it did work for dollar CAD. We saw the dollar rally. You've got the US side of the equation up. The Canadian version not as good as expected, and dollar CAD's a little bit higher. So this is a positive thing to take out of it. At the start of the week, if you haven't been trading, you're having a look. Are things working well? Yeah, they are. Like the dollar picked itself up off the floor after those US numbers, and it came across all the different pairs, right? So Aussie was a little bit sort of haphazard, and Kiwi's a little bit drifting sideways as well. But the rest of the currencies here, they are reacting to the numbers. Now, I tell you what, I'm starting to sort of sense, right? The dollar at this point, it's drifting sort of sideways again. And if I just get up blow that chart up a bit, the dollar index, and get some more data across, you can see how much activity it's had in this sort of tight range down here. I've just got a feeling, right, that the inflation numbers, you can't sort of deny inflation's been going through the roof in the States. This is like we've had all the data, end of the month, it drifts lower and no real follow through, right? No connection with some of the second tier data. I think the dollar's starting to recharge for a move to the top side. Now that's just a gut feel, right? I haven't seen any data to really suggest this. This is where the non-farm payrolls are going to really come into play. But what I'm looking at is when these currencies like euro gets up towards this resistance level around 122.60, it stalls and fails and turns around. Same with sterling. And then you see these little dips here in the dollar index, dollar Swiss. It sort of bounces off these lows pretty quickly. So it is maintaining lows, but I just think that these other currencies like the dollar block, euro, sterling, Aussie and Kiwi, I don't think they've got much room on the top side unless the US numbers start to come out weak. Now, we're coming into Wednesday trading, right? We're sort of coming to the point where, well, we need to see more data, right? But there's not a lot of data coming out today. And this is where you would love to like just hit a button and say, you know what, I'll have the non-farm payrolls today, thanks. Because if we got non-farm payrolls out today, we'd have 3 days to trade the momentum from that. As it is, it comes out Friday and we have little room before the weekend. Now, you come into today's trading, having a look down here, there's not a lot, right? Some mortgage numbers, I can't see them impacting at all. Then you come through on a Wednesday, we've got some Aussie, some German data, a bit of Euro, PMI data. Then we're starting to get into the weekly jobless numbers, right, down here on Thursday. The other balance of the ISM non-manufacturing PMI numbers, and then we get into the non-farm payroll. So you can map out when the trading activity is going to commence by watching the fundamental data because it is impacting. I've just showed you the US numbers there and the Canadian numbers chiming in. So what you've got to do is just try and work out what's going on. Now, what that may mean is if there's no data out tomorrow, we could have range-bound markets, okay, leading into today's trading. That's something to consider. If you're absolutely gagging for a trade, think of that. If you're not and you're waiting for the good trade, we'll wait for Thursday/Friday because that's where we're going to get the answers. And as I keep saying, this isn't just the answer for the day's trading. It's for dollar direction going for the next week, right? Then we run into the US CPI numbers. if we get strong CPI numbers again, the dollar's going to start running because the Fed are going to have to start doing something outside of what they've been doing so far. So today, if anything, keep an eye on the German retail sales figures, right? Germany is the nuts and bolts of Europe. Keep an eye on those. I still think we are lacking direction here on a lot of these pairs, but Euro, I just feel like it doesn't like to be up above 122. It is holding in there at the moment, but we've got a good sort of resistance line here to work with, up around 122.60. You've got support around 121.55.60 as well. I think down through this level, it drops another 150 points. It's another failure to the top side, but we need US numbers to work in with us, right? Or outrageously strong Euro data. Even these retail sales data out of Europe isn't going to be enough, even if it's really strong, to really give the Euro a massive push to the top side. So right now, focus on the parts that you can see. If it doesn't make sense, we'll sit back, right? Just having a look here at the, what page am I on here? Wrong one. US equity futures, right? Not much going on here. So is that going to give us direction on the currency pairs? No, it's not. And if you have a look, everything's sort of up at this point, except for dollar CAD. So that doesn't fit in. Obviously, the dollar's quoted differently against all pairs. And if they're all going up, how can that be? So sit back. The Asia session is not giving us much. Wait for Europe, wait for North America. That's where the action is. And let's kick some goals as we get close to the end of the week. All right, guys, have a good one. Cheerio.